Welcome back to another tropical update here by Asian Weather Forecast. We're going to be focusing on the potential for the Atlantic hurricane season coming back in business, as we are seeing very favorable conditions once again now for the Atlantic season, and we're already seeing signs of this Atlantic hurricane season coming back to what it was earlier and what we expected. We already have tropical depression 5, and we also have now a new disturbance, and we are going to be looking in the next coming weeks of if we can have a lot more activity here and whether we're going to be seeing a ton of names in July like we expected, or will that just carry on a bit more into August. We're going to be looking at all the conditions, including the Saharan dust level. We're going to be looking at the SSTs. We're going to be looking at all of that there, a lot more, including wind shear, the future radar, see exactly where we can possibly have this. We can be seeing really that MDR of July, really, and seeing if we can have a new MJO likely coming in, a MJO likely off the coast of Africa. That could really become a huge threat if that happens, and if the SAL dies down like we expect. But before we get in the tropical update, please smash that post notification icon to get notified as soon as I post a video. Also, be sure to smash the subscribe button to show your awesome support for my channel, and also be sure to smash that like button so I know you enjoy these type of videos. But without further ado, let's get to the tropical update. So here's the 5-day tropical weather outlook here by the National Hurricane Center, and as you see, we have tropical depression 5. Me and actually somebody actually did predict this becoming a tropical depression, actually, and we did predict this becoming a tropical storm here. I believe you guys know him, Tony H. Me and him predicted this becoming a tropical storm here, and this could very well become Tropical Storm Edward here. So E, this could be possibly the earliest E in history. Really, the earliest E. We've had the earliest C already. We've had the earliest. We've had a lot of really record breakers that could possibly happen. Maybe we can have a record breaking F, early F here, likely here. But they actually have updated to a 30% chance. So you're probably wondering, oh, this has a very low chance. But it was just at a 10% chance yesterday, not too long ago, and now it's at a 30% chance already. And we really do have some very favorable conditions in the Gulf of Mexico. No shear, no dry air, and extremely warm SST. So this could very well become something here for the northeastern Gulf of Mexico here, and can very well go through Florida. And then it has a lot of the ocean left to go. This could be a Arthur and Bertha-like track. Actually, more of an Arthur-like track, except Arthur, of course, came off the coast of Florida and then went like that. But really, this could be have it kind of like a close call, like Arthur maybe, or maybe a Bertha landfall. But yeah, really kind of worried about this TD5. As you see, the National Hurricane Center does show it becoming a tropical storm, not post-tropical, a tropical storm here. That will be Tropical Storm Edward by most likely into later tonight. So if that does happen, we're going to be seeing their earliest E. And if you think about it, last year we saw Dorian, I believe, in August. And that's D, but we already saw D. We saw Dolly, the earliest D there. The earliest C, Cristobal. So really, we're breaking a lot of records this year. And this could be the earliest E, Edward here. So as you see, it is going to be not affecting any land, not going to be affecting anywhere in Newfoundland or Nova Scotia. It kind of brought just really rain. The only thing that got really affected by this kind of Bermuda, where they saw some rain. But really, also worried about that disturbed weather there in the Gulf of Mexico, some disturbed low pressure system that if that doesn't close up, then that could very well become something very interesting. So let's go. So as you see, the cone, and this could become post-tropical as far back as Tuesday. So this thing's going to be tropical for really a while there. So pretty long-lasting kind of tropical storm you see all the way to the northern Atlantic. This could have a Dolly-like pattern, or Dolly-like really tracks. So Dolly was all the way up here. I remember that Dolly was all the way up here, I believe so. So just worrying about maybe Edward coming up here. But now let's go and check out everything else here, the tracks and all of that for TD5. So here's the Tropical Depression 5 model intensity guidance. As you see, here's a tropical storm force wind. This is where you go above or below tropical storm force wind extent. As you see, almost over 60% of the models do show it becoming a tropical storm, but at a low end tropical storm, really maintaining below 40 knots there. But some other models, 3 or 4, do show it becoming maybe a moderate tropical storm before weakening. But as you see, basically 70% of the models do show it actually becoming a tropical storm there, and actually 90% showed them become tropical storm yesterday. That's where we had only 5 models on this because it did not become tropical storm really for really less than, it's been a tropical storm for less than 18 hours, I believe so. So this thing could very well become a tropical storm. Let's go ahead and check out the satellite imagery to see exactly how well this disturbed weather looks like in these disturbed thunderstorms and see whether it is actually going to become a tropical storm. So here's satellite imagery, and as you see, we are seeing this low pressure system sitting right here, of course. There it is. You see that's where the main vorticity is. As you see, this low pressure is not enclosed, which is exactly why the system is only a tropical depression. As you see, we're seeing some very dense cloud cover developing to the north of this system, and I expect it to loop around. So it closes the low pressure system, and that's when it becomes a tropical storm. This is very well going to happen. Obviously, we have the vorticity. We really do have this vorticity, just not enclosed. As you see, that we're having the strong thunderstorms and higher amounts of cloud cover on the eastern side of the storm, but the western side of the storm is really the reason why this is not a tropical storm right now. This thing is sitting at 35 miles an hour there at 1,008 millibars. So really, it could be maybe most likely strengthening a lot more if this thing does become enclosed. And I am expecting it to enclose really soon, which is why I do expect it to become a tropical storm there. So that is that. Here we're looking at the El Nino 3.4 region here, and as you see, we are at a dead center. We are at a dead center neutral at this point, really. This is really what the mark of a dead center at negative 0.0. In between that positive negative. This thing's at a dead center neutral, let me tell you that. It's been a journey, let me tell you, since May. It's been a journey. We got to La Nina status, now went up, now going down. We thought it was going to go back to La Nina, and then it just skyrocketed. It just skyrocketed because we are seeing a lot warmer SSTs kind of ruining that La Nina pattern. So I'm going to show you that in SSTs really quickly, but now I actually went as far up as back into the positives, let me tell you that. It went back to positive yesterday, and that's back into the negative status. So this, it could be a really strong pattern, really. We just really need these La Nina to really come in play by the time we get into August, really September, because as we saw in my winter forecast or discussion or thoughts, there's a even chance of having a La Nina or neutral, really, for this summer into the winter. So really, not even the ENSO outlook is... It's reliable, but at this point we can't even have really a decision, even looking at the ENSO outlook, which we usually can. But really, the only thing is, this thing is going back to a negative status, but it has to drop a lot. It has to drop all the way back over here to have that La Nina status, and it has to stay at the status for around 2 weeks to actually confirm it as a La Nina. So really, this isn't really the reason why we are seeing an inactive mid to late June and early July for the first 5 days of July, or the first 4 days of July. Now it's getting active, but that's not why. It's not because it's not a La Nina, really. Because really we are seeing that La Nina status, kind of, but really those warmer temperatures that are popping up are really making it a lot harder to actually get there. It's actually the SAL, or the Saharan air layer, that dust from the west coast of Africa that I talked about. That was historic. We did not see anything like that in the past 50 years, and that really halted the hurricane season. It just put to a huge stop. That's why we saw Dolly, but Dolly didn't form in the area we really thought it was going to form. Dolly was all the way in the northern Atlantic near the Nova Scotia area. You know why? Because that's where it was favorable. So Dolly wouldn't have, if there were a lot of SAL across the whole northern Atlantic, Dolly wouldn't have formed there. So here is the SSTs here for portions of the northern Atlantic. As you see, very warm temperatures right now for the Caribbean and portions of the Gulf. Very favorable conditions. Also, with Edward, look at these extreme temperatures right here. Wow. Extremely warm temperatures, possibly up to maybe 4 degrees Celsius. Extremely warm, let me tell you that. Wow. This is extremely, extremely warm. And just look at that, extremely warm. Edward's really going to be seeing those favorable conditions as we have no shear. But we're starting to see some warmer temperatures pop up in the tropical Atlantic, but really with this SAL, our only hope to have systems, this potential MJO, is to have systems more to the south, right here, not right here, due to that dust. This is usually where you have these MJOs kind of off right here. This is really where we see the MJOs, but this year is going to be a little different. It's going to be most likely right here because that's where we're seeing very little dust and really moist, a very moist atmosphere. So, as you see where we have that new disturbance there, we are seeing really average to slightly above average temps, and we are seeing some really warm temperatures, let me tell you that, especially in the Caribbean and off the coast of Florida. I'm really worried about Florida and the Caribbean this year, as we're seeing possibly up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit water temps. That is crazy, let me tell you that. Look at that. Look at this, 31 degrees Celsius at this point. That's just it's scary to look at, really. As you see, we are starting to see the tropical Atlantic really warming up there, 29 degrees Celsius, 27 degrees Celsius. So we are seeing up to that 80 degree mark, really, those areas actually. Actually, no, not that. We're actually getting to that 85 degree mark there for the tropical Atlantic. But look at this. Look at the Caribbean. Look at the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico right here is super favorable for July. Let me tell you that. Super favorable. And this MJO can very well go through this way right here, more to the south, where we have warm temps. And that can bring in low pressures into more to the south, like right here. And that can bring in some really big possibilities for maybe the north of the South American coast. This can be a huge possibility going through the Gulf. This can be a huge possibility going like this. This can be a huge possibility going dead center to the Caribbean. Caribbean really needs to worry about, because look at this. This is basically like a huge cone at this point. This cone. It seems like to be a huge cone, because look at the SSTs there. Very favorable. Edward, look at that. We're seeing up to a 29 degrees Celsius mark all the way off the coast of Virginia. Absolutely crazy there. So very favorable conditions all the way near Edward. But look at this, 31, 32 degrees Celsius for areas off the coast of Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba, and then we're really seeing a huge warm up now for the Gulf of Mexico, and only seeing the coolest temperature is 28 degrees Celsius. So really favorable conditions, let me tell you that, for SSTs. So here's the SAL forecast for the next 3 days. As you see, let me pause that. This is now July 6th at 5 o'clock. Actually, I don't think I paused that. Let me pause it. Okay, so here you go. Stop right here. So this is now July 8th. Let me just wait for it to go back to July 5th, really. Let me go back to play. So this is going to go as far as July 8th, really, almost July 9th. But look, this is July 5th right now. This is what we're seeing currently. Actually, this is actually the past. Let me go to what we're seeing really right now at this point. Let me play it. So as you see, this is basically what we're going to be seeing today. This is July 5th at 2 o'clock. We're seeing a ton of SAL right now, let me tell you that. We are. Not really for this area, not really for the Caribbean and Florida and the Gulf of Mexico, but I'm talking about really for the tropical Atlantic right here and off the coast of Africa. We're seeing a really high amount of demand for dust off the coast of Africa and also in the Saharan desert. But wait, let me tell you. Wait. Our only disturbances are right in the Western Atlantic, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm talking about for the potential MJO and why it could very well happen this month. As you see, we're going to July 6th now. Look at the different colors. These brown colors are turning to a light, almost gray-like color. As you see, this really dark brown is turning to a lighter brown. That means we're seeing less amount of dare and thickness-wise. Look at that. As you see, it's definitely not as bad as the last one on in late June. But look at this. This is the big area you want. This is where you want to look at this right now. Look right here. Look as we get closer to July 8th, the amount of dust coming off the Saharan desert is really just falling apart. Like it's minimizing a lot. Look at this. It's coming out. All of it's coming off the coast. But look behind this. Really little colors, very light brown. And look at it in July 5th. That's July 5th. That's what it looks like July 5th. It's really minimizing the next spot all the way to July 8th. We're going to see a very little amount of dust. We are seeing a good amount right now. So we're not going to be seeing anything in the tropical Atlantic in the next 3 days. But we still have potential Edward and maybe an F. Maybe we have an F. So we're just going to really worry about that. but that does not going to affect potential Edward and then the new disturbance of the Gulf. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm saying this dust in the tropical Atlantic is really going to fall apart by the next 3 to 5 days. Could look on the Saharan Desert right now in Africa. It's really the amount of dust coming off the Saharan Desert is really minimizing a lot just by looking at the colors. So that could really make a huge possibility by the mid-July. Could very well see a very active tropical Atlantic and maybe a very big potential for an MDR in the Caribbean. So here is the tropical tidbits humidity here for the Africa area. So here's the Saharan Desert, very dry, extremely dry to that dust. But watch, this is actually where we're going to have this MJO right here. Like I said, it's going to be more to the south likely for the month of July. Look at this. Look at all this moisture coming out, very favorable, bringing in a lot of potential low pressure systems here. As you see, a lot of potential activity. See, we have one low pressure system developing there, then we have another one right there, and then we have another one developing. So really high amounts of moisture in this, more to the southern part of Africa this year, really. But look at this drier as well right here. Look at this. It's really going to fall apart. These colors, look at that. Really falling apart. We're seeing now a potential low pressure just now that are going to really develop. Let's see, we have one there. We got another one developing there on July 17th. Look at this dryer is really falling apart now in Africa there. Look at this. Huge difference. This is where it looks like July 21st. And then this is what it looks like now. That is now. Look at that huge difference there. Very big improvement. So really, this is where we have we're going to be seeing a huge amount of flow of a ton of moisture with little shear. It's kind of satisfying to watch all that moisture there. So this MJO could very well be a lot more to the south this year. We're going to be seeing multiple low pressure systems developing in a pattern like this. So big potential. You're going to be seeing that later in the video. Let's go and check out now. The whole northern Atlantic with the moisture. So here's the amount of humidity here for the whole northern Atlantic. As you see, let me actually go more to what we're seeing right now currently. So this is what we're kind of really seeing right now. As you see, we have very favorable conditions, or kind of minimizing that amount of moisture here for potential tropical depression 5. As you see, that's exactly why it is not an enclosed low pressure system, which is why not tropical storm. But look at that. Later on, it has a lot more moisture there. That's where it becomes a tropical storm. And look at this amount of moisture here for the northeastern Gulf. That's where we can possibly have that new disturbance. But as we get the next coming days here, you're going to see that little dust really coming in the next coming days. As you see, that's July 11th, going to be seeing that dust. So very unfavorable conditions for the whole area there. But as we now move into July 18th, potential development here for off the coast of Western Africa and tropical Atlantic. A lot more moisture here. It just takes a little blob of moisture to create something. Now you see, we're seeing a ton of moisture now for the Gulf, and this is where it's really becoming dangerous at this, or not dangerous, really big threat. All that moisture coming off the west coast of Africa, extremely favorable there for development. Here we are taking a look at now the precipitation rate here and all of that. For the future, to see exactly where we're going to be seeing this defined low pressure systems that can become something interesting. Here's tropical depression 5, soon to be tropical storm Edward, and here we have some disturbed thunderstorms for the northeastern Gulf, which is why we have a disturbance there. As you see, you'll possibly see a lot of moisture there in the tropical Atlantic, or not the southeastern coast. This is where we're going to be looking for that MJO. Huge tropical wave here, and that's going to bring in a ton of low pressure systems throughout this whole area at this point. As you see, some nice disturbed weather at that point by July 9th. That could be something interesting right here, July 12th. This could be something very interesting. Maybe we have an enclosed low pressure system that can become maybe a disturbance there. It's still obviously far out. I'm just saying, I'm really showing potential systems. Here we have the Bermuda High at this point. Bermuda High, all the way in the northern Atlantic. As you see, we're really worrying about off the coast of West Africa at this point. Look at all this moisture now. Two other systems, one, and then two that also have potential systems or potential tropical development. As we now get more into July 20th. This is where we have a pretty big one as well. July 20th. Really seeing, as you see, we don't really have anything for all the way July 20th to really worry about at this point. Eastern Atlantic as of now, or Western Atlantic, but really off the coast of Africa. Really worrying about that, really. And then we have that Bermuda high at this point, moving a bit more to the east. Last but not least, we are going to be taking a look at the wind shear to see how favorable conditions are, also with the moisture and all of that. As you see, like I said, we're seeing very favorable conditions for this whole area where we can possibly have MJO right here. Very, very little shear as well for right here. This whole Caribbean area, very little shear. I'm really worried about that. As you see, Tropical Depression 5 has a little shear to deal with, but once it goes into the next coming days or coming hours, we have a lot less wind shear there. As you see, potential system could very well develop in the Gulf very soon. Here we have it. Maybe the disturbance can get updated to a 50% chance by today. As you see, we're really seeing very favorable conditions here. We're going to be seeing a little bit more wind shear now onto July 11th. We're seeing some strong wind shear there. Then that really falls apart easily. And then look at this, from the whole African coast there to the Gulf, we have extremely little wind shear. This could be because maybe we are getting closer to a La Nina at this point there. Very little shear developing. We will actually have some strong shear, so unfavorable conditions for mid-July off the coast of Africa, but really Caribbean, southeastern coast, Gulf of Mexico, you guys are very, very favorable conditions for the next coming weeks, really. Well, I hope you guys did enjoy this hurricane forecast discussion here. I'm probably going to maybe have another one maybe at the end of the week here, maybe a week from now, maybe 5 days, all depending really how active it becomes. But expect me to post about Tropical Storm Edward maybe tomorrow, a brief, smaller video there. So tomorrow most likely we'll have a double upload, but really I hope you guys did enjoy this awesome upload here. And yeah, so obviously subscribe if you're new, hit the post notification icon, that bell icon, and hit the like button. Bye guys.